Hey guys, I'm Voylin, and first of all, I'm not sponsored by WaniKani or affiliated with them in any way, and they probably don't even know that I exist. But let's start off this WaniKani review by taking a look at their website. First thing we can see is their claim that you can study 2000 kanji and 6000 words in just over a year with WaniKani. The actual numbers are higher, but they round them off probably because it looks better than 2070 and 6600, so yeah. But let's do some math to see if they are correct that it's actually possible, because they say in just over a year. And because it says just over a year, I'll just add 1 month and some extra days, so let's round it off to 400 days in total. This equals to 5 new kanji and 15 new words each day, which is basically 15 new things each day, because the kanji that you will learn will probably be connected to the vocab that you will learn in some way. And that is honestly kind of a lot for some people. But for people actively studying Japanese, this amount is reachable. Some sites have very unrealistic claims that they say that you can achieve. So I'm kind of glad to see that WaniKani at least is not doing that, which is a good sign in my opinion. Now, they do have some reviews from users, but honestly, this is something I will always avoid, because yeah, they can basically put there whatever they want or pay people to say those things, so I never really look at them, I never really trust them. But there is a short feature list. So first of all, mnemonics? I still don't have any clue how to pronounce that word. It's basically making them similar to something so it's easier to remember, which works for some people. I'm not one of them. Then they have radicals, useful to know and something many people kind of forget about and some books don't even cover. The radicals of kanji. They have kanji, 2000 of them. Actual number is a little bit higher. And they probably follow the Joyo kanji because that makes the most sense. Then for vocab, they have around 6,000 words. The actual number is around like 6,600 if I remember correctly. They have lessons and reviews, because how else will you study the words and the kanji that you're learning? There's also a spaced repetition system, which is a requirement for me to even consider an application to be useful, as without, your learning is significantly slowed down, in my opinion. Studying Japanese for 8 years, so yeah, I think my opinion counts after 8 years of studying. And on the bottom of the page we can see that this is part of Tofuru, which is a site with a lot of information for Japanese language learners. When starting WaniKani for the first time, you'll get directly thrown into lessons for radicals. After going through your first couple of radicals, you get taken to the site, and I'm not going to lie, but not having a tutorial or guide on how the site works is kind of confusing, as there is kind of a lot of going on this site. Luckily, a lot is grayed out to indicate that there is no access to those parts yet. They may come later on. You can only study a certain amount of lessons in a certain time period, making it so you can't bury yourself in reviews later on in the next couple of days or so. I think this is helpful, but I also find it kind of limiting, as most of these things, like the radicals and kanji, the first ones, I already know. And there's no way to skip ahead to radicals and kanji which I don't know yet. After waiting for 1 hour, I came back to one extra lesson, and then I was kind of locked out for the rest of the day, which made me feel like there wasn't much left to do for the rest of the day on that site, which is kind of a good thing. And also, yeah, for people who want to study more because they have like an off day, yeah. Okay, and the positives. First of all, the waiting times, which could be seen as a downside, I think could actually help a lot of people to not burn themselves out when studying, because in the beginning I tended to study way too much, burn myself out, and got demotivated because of that. Another positive is, once you get the hang of how the site works, it becomes quite good to use. It is difficult in the beginning though. And their system makes it easier to learn kanji and vocab, and you also learn the radicals, which is again something which is often overlooked even in some textbooks. But then we go to the negatives. First of all, this site can feel confusing at first, and there's not really any information on how things actually work and when you can like do reviewing and such. Like, you have to figure it out whilst using the site. So some kind of like short introduction would be helpful for new people. And next up, it really does start off slow. You are limited to how they want you to study. So yeah, another negative is there's no skipping ahead. So even the kanji that you already learned, or the vocab that you already learned, you have to redo the whole thing, and then you're stuck at the end of the day because you learned the amount that you can learn. So there's no skipping ahead. Beginning is kind of slow. Also, for the service that says that you will learn kanji, not learning how to actually write the kanji, that's kind of a shame, because stroke order is just as important as knowing the meaning of kanji, in my opinion. And another negative, there's no grammar, which is kind of important when looking at the next point, because another negative could be the price, which is a lot depending on your situation and how much you're willing to invest in studying Japanese. So yeah, the pricing of WaniKani, first of all, really dislike how they don't link to the pricing page on their homepage. Like, you can press the chat with us to talk with some kind of like automated program. I don't think it's AI or anything. And in there you can ask for the pricing, but this feels like they're hiding it purposefully. Yeah. The first 3 levels are free, but the monthly price is $9 a month, yearly $89, and there is also a lifetime option of $299. But here is where it gets kind of funny, in my opinion. They say you can learn everything in just over a year. Then why is the lifetime pricing over 3 times the amount of a yearly plan? Now, their claim of 2000 kanji and 6000 words is reasonable, and the overall feeling of the site is good for beginners once you get the hang of how the site actually works. But I would recommend WaniKani to people who are just starting out with studying Japanese compared to people who are already studying Japanese for some time, because I don't think the value holds up for people who already are over the beginner level, as it will mostly be repetition and the slow order that you cannot skip lessons or like go towards parts that you already like are new to you. That's a big deal breaker, and that will make it very slow to get into for people who are over beginner level. Like, this website is really aimed at beginners. And also, because you don't have the grammar or stroke order, the price seems a bit too high, in my honest opinion. Don't kill me in the comments for this, because like, normally I would always recommend a lifetime plan if available, because it mostly helps the developers, well, it supports the developers more. But in this case, it just doesn't make sense. You're better off getting an annual plan once, and after that you can decide if you want to go further for another year or some months instead. So yeah, the first 3 lessons are free, so be certain to give those a try before making any buying decisions. And I also feel like I must mention that this pretty much feels like just a more organized and clean looking Anki, with some extra bells and whistles. But not everybody likes Anki and prefers an out-of-the-box experience, and just something that works, because Anki does require a lot of setup time. But there are still other free applications which do kind of the same thing as WaniKani does. So in short, do I recommend this? If you're still a beginner, like in a beginner stage of studying Japanese, and you don't mind the higher price, go ahead. But I would probably recommend something more like Lingodeer for learning vocab, as you will also learn grammar in the meantime, or just Human Japanese if you're just starting out with studying Japanese and you're just learning the beginning still. Then I would much rather prefer to recommend something like Human Japanese, which has a lower fee in the beginning, well, a lower overall fee, like a much lower overall fee, and you will learn more than what WaniKani learns in terms of like getting up and running with the language. But yeah, I just don't see enough value for the price to justify purchasing it. A better price will be like $5 a month, an annual plan for $50, and a lifetime plan at $150 with at a discount action, just $100. That would make much more sense, like price-wise. But yeah. Anyway, that's it for me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.